Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Racecourse Stadium. Welcome to Wales and Wrexham, and what is, I think, a new ground for us both here this afternoon, and really interesting surroundings. So parts of it that feel like it's been a lot of work has been done very quickly, and other areas that maybe feel like there's still a bit more to do. But that, I guess, reflective of the overall rise of Wrexham. 1981, the last time Norwich City played a game on this ground, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this one goes. Connor Southwell, joined by Paddy, Davitt, will bring you the team news in when it drops in the next minute or so. Going to be a couple of interesting, I think, things to talk about within there. Paddy, I don't think we need to talk too much more about Josh Sargent, but what we can say, and what Philippe Clement confirmed yesterday, so we can get it out of the way, he's definitely not here today.
No, we've seen them go for their pre-match stroll, and there was no sign of a certain American. So Big Jovan was there. That's all we need to worry about for this afternoon.
Yeah, he's definitely here. I've seen Chris Goran as well. And we saw sadly not on the pitch, but we saw a legendary City striker who's also here in the form of Ewan Roberts. Right, let's bring you the team news. The headline is that Ali Ahmed makes his Norwich City debut this afternoon. Norwich City line up with Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Krizene, the back four, Matson and McLean, the midfield two, Jurasek on the right, Ahmed on the left, with Anis Ben Slimani in the 10, behind Jovan Makama. The subs bench, Grimshaw, Stacey, Medic, Darling, Wright, Springett, Schwartau. A return to the bench for Papa Amadou Diallo and Mateus Chris Goran as well. So just to run you through that for you again, Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Krizene, the back four, Matson and McLean, the midfield two, Jurasek, Slimani and Ahmed, the three behind Jovan Makama. Where do you want to start, Paddy? Should we start with Ali Ahmed? It's good to see him out there and getting a start this afternoon.
Yeah, and all those fears that they'd signed a croc, which was rife on social media after the Walsall presser. Yeah. We were in the room, and he definitely didn't say that. All he said was, finished this season with Vancouver in December. Naturally, he needs a period. I think Ahmed said in his club interview he'd had a week off and then had been training for a week and a half, but he's going to need a little bit longer than that, as any player would between seasons. And he said a week today, actually, when we was down at Colney, if he trained this coming week as he had the first week, he'd be in his thoughts. Clearly has, because he's in his thoughts to the extent where he's starting. And Jallo on the bench is another little great boost in the context of trying to pep him up at the top end of the pitch. Let's hope that Ali Ahmed is looking back on his first taste of English football with a warm glow, because that would suggest that then, they have a player plugged in, ready to go, can actually impact it now at this level. All those are still question marks right here, right now. But the fact that in Philippe Clement's mind, and that's all that really matters, he's ready to go from the start is a real signal. And also, as well, let's not overlook Slimani in the 10. Clearly saw enough in the FA Cup setting, but it's only a second league starting to come on, and that first one on Boxing Day ended after 45 minutes when him and Jurasek both got hooked. I think Clement said after the game he didn't think they were up to the rhythm of the game. They hadn't played a lot of football. But here we are, we roll it on a matter of weeks, and both of them starting today. So it's a real intriguing three behind Makama, isn't it? And how will that gel today against a very, very difficult assignment in terms of Wrexham and what they've done here at home and what they're doing more broadly this season. So a little bit of a surprise, if I'm honest. I thought Jacob Wright would be the 10 call, but, I can also see why he might want to have a look at Slimani and Cordoba. I think that makes sense. I think both at QPR alongside McConville and last week, there's the makings of something that could be quite good as a central defensive pairing. So not surprised that it's Cordoba getting the shout, but I am surprised that Slimani's in at the 10. And, let's hope he justifies that selection.
Yes, indeed. Going to be a few really interesting bits, as Pad has mentioned there, around this team news. Obviously, Ali Ahmed, I'm sure, will be the headline. I think we're all intrigued to see how quickly he can adapt and how quickly he can impress at championship level, and what stage to do it on here this afternoon if he could make this a positive outing for him. Going to be interesting, though, Pad, to see how much he can play, because Clement essentially inferred yesterday it would be 45 minutes, and he maybe had to choose whether it was the first or the second. So do you think that's going to be pretty set, that irrespective maybe of how that first half goes, we're going to see him replaced at half time? Or do you think there will be some flexibility in that? Because Clement has certainly prioritised fitness management and management of minutes since he came into the club.
Yeah, he has, and I guess part of that equation is Jallo. I mean, he seemed to indicate he could only really look at him for today in a 10 or 15 minute burst. So that leads you to think that there would be a slight issue there. I mean, he could go Schwartau, can't he, if he needed to do that, I guess, as a first change with Jallo maybe to introduce later on in the game. So, yeah, no, everything about the way he's operated in terms of management of players has been very circumspect, very erring on the side of caution. If he says he can only do 45, then that's what you would expect. Let's just hope he has a real. And I'm sure the instruction would be give us everything you've got for those 45, and then we'll make the change. Rather than, heaven forbid you push him out, he goes deeper into that second half, and then maybe that lack of fitness comes to the fore. So no, I think it'll be 45 and out today, and let's hope he really has a huge impact in that first 45 minutes.
Yeah, apologies everyone. It's Cordoba who is in there. I missed him off the scroller at the bottom, but he's on there now. So yeah, it is Jose Cordoba alongside Rory McConville, which actually, Paddy, is to be fair not a bad pivot into what I wanted to speak about, because I think when we've seen that, and we've seen a QPR and we saw it at Walsall last weekend, and Torup spoke about this a lot, to be fair, that if Cordoba plays, because of his recovery pace and his ability to kind of cover the space in behind, and you can leave him in big spaces, it allows you to push your line higher up and be a little bit more proactive with that. And I think the early signs that we've seen of that McConville-Cordoba centre-back partnership has offered real encouragement. And today, we're against a team who maybe I'm not expecting to press with certainly the ferocity of perhaps other teams, that kind of natural left-sidedness as well is something that could be really useful today.
No, what I like from Cordoba and McConville, because it's something that Clement has been very clear about. And to be fair, he said after Stoke he didn't like that, whereas was letting the ball bounce second balls. He talked about he wants his defenders to go and engage and go and attack and be proactive. And I know it was Walsall, but anybody who was at that game last week, that was Cordoba. He was stepping in. He was really aggressive in terms of his one-on-one defending, as he was at QPR. And it's obvious by the fact that they've both been paired again here today that Clement, that's what he wants from his centre-backs. He wants that proactivity. He likes what he's seen from McConville, and Cordoba has maybe responded to that. Harry Darling might be feeling a little bit hard done by, because it looked like in the early parts of that Clement cycle, him and McConville were the two. But all you can do is when Cordoba, as he has done, got his chance at QPR, got his chance last week. For me, he grabbed it, so absolutely no issue with him alongside McConville today. And I think hopefully they can build on what have been some very encouraging signs for all the reasons you stated. There's a nice balance. There's that natural athleticism, certainly with Cordoba. And I just like the aggressiveness, rather than being passive and letting, particularly today against some, quite grizzled attacking options for Wrexham, who know the division, know what it's all about, physically very imposing. If Norwich are second best in that area, that's going to give Wrexham a platform then to build and make it a type of game they want it to be. Norwich needs to be very almost confrontational in those matchups in the centre-back, centre-forward areas. And if they can, then that hopefully nullifies a little bit what Wrexham are going to do. And obviously, if you're stepping in and winning the ball higher up in your own half, then your midfield and your attack positionally are a lot closer to the Wrexham goal. So, yeah, I think that, to me, at the moment, feels probably the best balance in terms of centre-backs.
Yeah, a couple of comments to clear up here, just because they're people asking. No, Harry Darling on the bench. It is that two that we spoke about. So he
is here, though, I've seen.
Yeah, he's on the bench. Yeah, but he's not starting. And this is an interesting one from Matthew. Lucien Mahobo not in the matchday squad at all. Neither is, as Josh highlights, Emi Marcondes, which isn't the first time recently that's been the case. I guess it's indicative probably of Diallo's return and Ahmed's coming in, and just the level of competition that they have. But we will, of course, ask Philippe Clement on those two post-game as well. But maybe not the best time for Emi Marcondes. And again, we praise Tony Springett and all of those guys who maybe have taken those opportunities when he hasn't. And I'll come back to Paddy on those in a minute. But just to bring you that Wrexham team, they line up with, the headline is that Kiefer Moore, who is back from injury, only makes the bench for them this afternoon. So they have got Okonkwo in goal, Cleworth, Hyam and Doyle as the back three. Kabore returns at right wing back, of course. Norwich, all sorts of chaos in that Carrow Road game. Dobson, Sheaf and Thomason are the midfield three. Josh Windass on that left side, with Nathan Broadhead, formerly of Ipswich Town, and Sam Smith, the starting strikers. The subs bench for Wrexham, Burton Scar, Case Barnett, Matty James, Lewis O'Brien, Ollie Rathbone, Jay Rodriguez, and Kiefer Moore. So a team absolutely dripping with championship experience. We'll come on to Wrexham in a moment, Pad, but in terms of no Lucy Mahovo, no Emmy Marcondes, what do you make of those omissions? Clearly, we don't have the full picture. We haven't spoken to Philippe Clement yet. Just indicative of kind of the competition there, or do you think that, I guess Mahovo probably would be the concern from a fitness perspective, not being in the squad at all?
Yeah, but I have to be honest. We discussed it earlier. I don't think he's grabbed his chance really, and of course he's. Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? No. Well, I was just going to caveat it by saying he has had a bit of a long road back. That is mitigation, to be fair. But there's been a few occasions at Carrow Road, particularly, where from our vantage, Clement has almost visibly been frustrated with Mahovo and what he's not doing, and so I'm not surprised he's not in the 11. In terms of the matchday squad, I'm looking at the options that defensively. Stacey's the interchangeable one, isn't he? But you've got Darling in there, you've got Medic in there. It feels like at this stage, without us knowing, it feels like it's just a selection call, and if that's the case, certainly with Marcondes, it feels that would, to me, read as a selection call, because we've seen already in this period that, in his mind, Clement's mind, I mean, he's talked in the last 2 or 3 cycles about he's really got some tough decisions now. Talked about this with the best training week they've had in terms of bodies on the training pitch, the options he's got. So maybe it just comes down simply to, at the moment, those two are the wrong side of his 20 thoughts. But we will clarify, certainly with Mahovo, but my reading would be that it's not fitness related, it's more they have work to do to get back into Philippe Clement's thoughts. And all they have to do is look at Cordoba. Cordoba was a bit out of it. Medic wasn't in 20s. He was sat along from us at QPR in the stand. He's now got himself back in. So that's the natural ebb and flow when you've got enough options to choose from, I guess.
And this is the point, isn't it? I guess to kind of segue into their incoming business in January, is you look at that squad, and it is, in terms of numbers, we could debate quality, but certainly in terms of numbers, it is on the bigger side, which I'm sure probably is in their thinking in terms of January.
I think we know it is, yeah. I mean, bloated is the word I would use, and you can, it's not even a debate. You can debate there isn't enough quality. Clearly, they're bottom 3 in the table for a reason, lots of reasons. But pure numbers, they are top heavy, and they will have to sift, and that will come into the equation, both in terms of the finances, in terms of the squad numbers that they can you go with. You can't talk liberally about pushing players through from the academy and having pathways there if there's no slots for them, because there's too many players ahead of them, established first team options. So I think it's nailed on that they will have to sift as part of what this 2 weeks to the end of the window look like.
Slimani in the 10, I know we sort of spoke a little bit around that. I thought he played quite well last week. Obviously, we can debate the level of opposition and whatnot, but in terms of taking an opportunity, it felt like he did that, and Norwich were, from an attacking perspective, from the level of control they had, were better for that. And I think Philippe Clement used this word about the team generally, curious about how they could translate that performance into a championship game against a very good championship team. We could probably isolate it to him. I think there'll be a lot of curiosity about how he goes today in a position that we know is probably on their radar this month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that Charlton game I was talking about, his only other starting to come on. He was very anonymous that day, and rightly, I think, was made way at half time. But what he's done clearly week to week since, training wise, but also, what's that one? Charity boxing match? Oh yeah. No way.
It all ended in smiles, I can assure you.
Wrong weight class. But with Slimani, you thought he was decent last week, and you have to keep putting that asterisks about the level of opponent, but in an area where they are looking to try and solve a few problems. Jacob Wright has shown he can offer something, but equally there's been a few games in this cycle where he's been a bit flat and anonymous and on the periphery. So why not have a look at Slimani in the context of hopefully trying to add one in that area, which we know they're trying to do. I mean, Slimani, there was that club interview a few weeks ago where he talked about this is a big period for him. He knows he wants to impress Clement. He wants to get in this Norwich team because he's got a carrot of trying to get to the World Cup. And I know that's not, in terms of the Norwich dimension, a relevant factor, but if he's going to achieve that aim, then he has to be playing. And he's obviously shown enough for Clement to give him another opportunity today. So let's hope he takes it, because he didn't really take it against Charlton, if we've been honest.
No, I think what I would say about Wright in there is, and I know I didn't think he was that great against Stoke, to be fair, but
I thought he was good last week, but in the sixth.
Yeah, of course. But if you think about the Championship when he's played as a 10, I thought when Norwich went away to Preston, when they went away to QPR, and it was a bit of a scrap, bit of a battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't really conducive to how he wants to play. Slimani, and there was a comment earlier, I think got it bang on in terms of how high he won the ball up the pitch last weekend. Again, everything we say about last weekend with the caveat of the opposition and the level they are, but they're no mugs. He did that side of the game really well, which is clearly something that Clement wants from that side as well. So if he can come in and do that today, there's an opportunity there and a position there to be grabbed, and we're probably looking at that attacking line, particularly in light of a particular number 9. Does feel like now there's some more openings to grab. Probably both the wide positions, if we're being honest, are there to be grasped. The number 10 position, obviously Jovan Makama starting centrally for Norwich today, that's there to be grasped as well, with Chris Gorin in reserve. So it is opportunity knocks for a lot of these players, and it's not just probably the players that need to take that, but probably Norwich need them to take it as well with the situation that they are in. We speak about this run of games. They've got the starts here. Wrexham have won 5 on the spin, including that FA Cup shootout win here last Friday. It's a very daunting stretch before February, and they're going to have to keep themselves in touch, which means good performances and good results against some quality teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no sense now. I think there's a holding pattern. It needs to happen, and it needs to happen pretty urgently because, they blew opportunities at home to Watford and Stoke over the festive period, and worryingly the performance levels as well. You can lose a game of football, you can lose 2. Norwich lost plenty at Carrow Road this season, but it was the manner of those defeats. So limp in terms of forward threat, laboured in their passing as well. It was a real regression, and I think Clement has identified that. Hopefully Walsall was a step in the right direction, but this is today. Those are the games you've mapped out against some tough-looking opponents. But let's be honest, I mean, from now to the end of the season, they're probably going to not be a week where they don't play a team who've got something on the line, playing for something, so better get used to it. And he now needs, like Palamatson, perfect case study. He has really grasped it. He's really stepped forward. His personality has come through. But it can't be just 1, it can't be just 2. It needs to be now the majority of the 11 each week, because that's the only way they're going to dig themselves out of this hole.
Certainly is. As I said earlier, we were speaking to you, and who's watched far more of Wrexham than we have, I think it's fair to say. And he mentioned how kind of sturdy they are, how physical they are, how sort of seasoned they are in the Championship. This is thank you, mate. Cheers. This is going to be a really interesting battle for Norwich. And again, you go through their lineup. There's a lot of names there who, at this level, have proven they can play. But also, you look at this season, the record they've got here. What was it you said earlier? 2 defeats in 13, 3 defeats in 13.
2 or 3 in 13.
Here, the run that they've been on at the moment in the Championship doesn't get much tougher than this task that Norwich have got.
No, it doesn't. And they clearly, I mean, we were just in the press room there, and some of the sort of local journos are, I think, eyeing the top 6 spot if the results go for them today. Going back to my previous point, that every day, every week now this season from here on in, there are teams who are going to have just as much on the line as Norwich in terms of an incentive or a carrot, and theirs is obviously to build on this unbelievable story here. We're here, can't see it because it's behind us, but there's an open end here, and there's a lot of building work and machinery going on. Ewan says that the stand, when it's built, will be twice the size of the one we're in. So, they are off the pitch. We know the whole story. They're building and trying to... The limit of the ambition here for this club isn't obviously Championship football. It's to go another level. And as Philippe said yesterday, they're paying the sort of wage levels to attract the level of player to help push them up and to the top end of the table. And that's the level of challenge. But equally, Preston before Christmas, the run they were on, Sheffield United a little bit earlier with what Wilder had done there. Yep. No less a challenge. And Norwich came through both of those games and probably arguably deserved more in terms of points returned. So lean into those experiences, lean into the urgency of the situation they find themselves in, and if they are going to do this, then it's coming to places like this now where the odds are a bit against them. We've not even really mentioned him, but there's issues going on in the background, having to navigate distractions that nobody needs to have to deal with from a Norwich perspective. But come through all that, use that adversity as fuel, and as a group stick tighter and come out the other side. And if it goes to plan, and they get to where they need to get to at the end of the season, they'll look back on this period as probably quite character forming, I would have thought.
Echo this from Daniel. They are actually we are close to, probably closer to the corner flag than we ordinarily would be. Although at Carroll Road, to be fair, we're pretty. It's a similar sight line, but in the stand that we're in, the Norwich fans are literally just down the other end. So. To all of those guys who would have, some of which left very early this morning to make this trip, let's hope they are rewarded with something. And as Dubai says, win today and we start to pull away from the drop zone on the basis that, of course, that results go their way, because Portsmouth are away at Sheffield Wednesday this afternoon. So I'm sure they will see that as an opportunity to get a win, albeit they don't travel that well. How do you see this going, Paddy? It's a tough test, as we've said a few times.
Yeah. So my eye's drawing here to the team sheet. You don't normally get this, Connor. It's got all the bench staff on here.
Nice. Full names as well.
Full names.
Nicholas Stanley.
Did you know Norwich's doctor is called Douglas Graham Andrew?
I didn't, but there we go.
I didn't know that, no.
Stefan van Heyden. His middle name, Maria.
Stefan Maria van der Heyden.
Very nice.
There you go. No middle name for Big Phil. He doesn't deal in middle names.
Too much fuss.
No, he just don't ask me 5 questions and you can ask one. But I'm more positive than on our Instagram earlier today. I thought maybe they'd lose with the odd goal, but now I'm here and feeling a bit more optimistic. So I'm going to go draw, Connor, score draw, which...
You've taken mine, yeah.
Yeah, well, you would take that though, wouldn't you? You get back on the coach and those fans, I'm sure, long journey back, but it wouldn't feel quite as long if they've seen a performance and a result. It gives them a bit of confidence now moving into a very tough period.
Yeah, 1-1 for me, score draw, and I think that would take that back on the coach and all the way back to Norfolk. I think in the current situation as well, which would be good. Someone's saying you should only ask 4 questions after the game.
There'll be no questions I will be asking on Joshua Sargent today, just so we all know.
There you go, you heard it here first. We will have full coverage, analysis, reaction of this game over at pinkin.com. You can join me on the Matchday blog, should you so wish. And let's hope that it is an afternoon where Norwich City can, hopefully find a bit more championship form after what was a very disappointing defeat to Stoke last time out. Thank you very much for watching. Pat will be speaking to Philippe Clement after the game. We'll bring you all of that as well across our channels, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching.